Let's talk about the Korean wave. South Korea's global popularity was at an all time high the past few years. From food to technology to entertainment, the world seemed to be in awe of the country. But these days on the internet, instead of the usual praise and awe towards South Korea that we used to see, is being slowly replaced with people concerned about several things, including the declining fertility rate, the ideological gap between men and women, the soaring rates of South Korean real estate, and then, amidst all of this, I came across a video. Is South Korea a cyberpunk dystopia? The video by Quinn Henry talked about Samsung's dangerous dominance over South Korea. South Korea's extreme work culture, where students, kids even, studied 16 hours a day. Some signed what's called a slave contract with big entertainment agencies, basically handing over their entire lives to these agencies in hopes of becoming K-pop idols. Parents gift their children plastic surgery on their 18th birthday, which is apparently all too common, and its population level, which has fallen below replacement levels. That's a long list of issues, and I'm confused as to how the world is suddenly talking about this when the past few years we were still in awe. So yes, I guess South Korea sounds a little bit like a cyberpunk dystopia. Cyberpunk dystopia, by the way, is usually best described as a combination of high tech and low life. And according to some, the supreme literary expression of late capitalism itself. Let's think about it. Are we in a cyberpunk capitalist dystopia? Namaste, namaskaram, wherever you are. This is your host Bhavana, and you are listening to Culture Speak.
I'd like to begin with a fact. Whether in a small town like McAllen or the Rio Grande, or in Chicago, New York, or Los Angeles, it is business. Big business. Fact. Big business. Fact.
Cyberpunk is a subgenre of science fiction. It features technological advancements like AI and cyborgs against the background of societal collapse. Is South Korea a symptom of what is coming for the rest of the world? Clearly, we're not talking about Neuromancer or Blade Runner levels of insane graphical cyberpunk aesthetics yet, but when you take a hard look around, there are some crazy similarities between the premise of cyberpunk and the very real world we inhabit in 2024. Let me give you more clarity on what cyberpunk is, how the idea began. So the roots of cyberpunk actually stretch back to the 1960s and 70s with this literary movement called the New Wave in science fiction. Writers like Michael Moorcock were editing magazines like New Worlds and encouraging more experimental avant-garde style of sci-fi stories. These new wave authors weren't just interested in conventional sci-fi plotlines, they wanted to explore how society deals with rapid technological and cultural changes, but often with dark, dystopian outcomes. Iconic writers from this era like Roger Zelazny, J.G. Ballard, Philip K. Dick, and others started examining really heady themes. They looked at things like the impacts of drug counterculture, sexuality revolution, and these new groundbreaking technologies emerging. You can see them drawing inspiration from the experimental literature of the beat writers like William S. Burroughs, as well as movements like Dadaism. Now, let's say you are now dropped into a cyberpunk world. What would that look like? We're talking about a dark, gritty future city that never sleeps under the blinding neon glow. Huge skyscrapers loom over the slums and back alleys where the rest of the society fight to survive. You've got your classic anti-heroes and rebels, hackers and data cowboys working hard to get by and strike back at the all-powerful mega-corps that run this dystopian show. They might have prosthetic limbs wired into their nervous system or brain implants jacking them into the network, true cyborgs. Maybe they're pulling a heist to hack corporate data and sell it to the highest bidder, or trying to bring down the system from within after discovering some real twisted Matrix-style conspiracies. Cyberpunk world is this weird retro-futuristic world where the human experience is melting into the digital realm. What is capitalism? We've heard this word being tossed around a lot, but what is it exactly? I'll try to simplify this a little bit. Capitalism is a system where regular people like you and me can own things and use these things to make money and grow our wealth. Now, in capitalism, individuals and private businesses get to make decisions about things like property like land, factories, and machinery, decisions about money and where to invest this money, decisions about the goods or services they produce, decisions about how much to pay workers, decisions about what prices to charge for the products we produce. So the goal is to make a profit by selling things that people want to buy. And there will be a lot of companies, and these companies will compete with each other to attract customers. And people are free to start businesses, invest their money however they want, and work for whoever will hire them. Workers get paid wages by the company owners. And now, what is a dystopia? Dystopia is a society where there's a lot of suffering, inequality, and injustice, simply put. One of the core premises of the cyberpunk genre is the idea of late-stage capitalism on overdrive. Late-stage capitalism, what's that? Late-stage capitalism refers to this idea that capitalism has entered a new phase which has severe economic and social consequences. Some of the key traits associated with late-stage capitalism looks like excessive corporate influence over the market, people prioritizing profits over social welfare or, environmental welfare, a widening wealth and income inequality, increased debt, a crumbling or neglected public infrastructure, and the normalization of excessive consumerism and this throwaway mentality. We use something and once the use is over, we throw it away and we replace it with something new. Wealth has become highly concentrated among a few people, and companies continue to exploit workers, use workers negatively for maximum profitability. There was a report from the World Inequality Lab. The report basically said that in India, the gap between the super rich people at the top and the rest has become extremely large and is one of the highest in the world. It found that the richest 1% of Indians now get 22% of the total national income earned in the country. The richest 1% get 22% of the total national income earned in the country. 1 and 22. That is a huge slice going to a tiny number of people. Many see rampant consumerism. Consumerism, by the way, is this constant buying of things and products. Because in a capitalist society, what happens is that, in an unregulated capitalist society, what happens is that products come with a particular value, and I don't mean just monetary value. For instance, think about this. Let's say you are wearing Gucci, alright, or a Gucci or Chanel. You will be considered as more desirable and more powerful if you are wearing Gucci or Chanel or some other popular brand like that, instead of a far less popular unknown brand. So people start to respect the object instead of the person. That is what happens in an unregulated capitalist society. We become addicted to buying things. We become addicted to making money. And because we get addicted to making money, our self-worth gets tied to the career we have. Our self-worth gets tied to not who we are, but how we are seen, how we are perceived in the society. Our self-worth gets tied to how productive we are or how much of a contribution we are making to society. Contribution making to society is really important. We should contribute to society, but in a good way, not in a way where income inequality is worsened, there is further environmental destruction, there is a lot of economic precarity, there is no sustainability. That is not how we should be contributing to society. We should have farsightedness, we should have some ethical and moral compass. But this capitalist system that we have in place, it prioritizes short term corporate earnings over sustainable, ethical, human centered practices. Well, look around in 2024. Sure, our governments still exist on paper, but it often feels like we're all just passive consumers, lending our productivity to profiting a small handful of massive corporations. Digital platforms are conditioning how we think and act while getting free data from us. Sometimes I think of something and I get an ad for it. I'm not sure how that works. Plus, collectively, we are all distracted right now. Anyone who uses Instagram will develop an addiction for it. Anyone who uses YouTube Shorts will develop an addiction for it. Moderation simply doesn't work in this case. The only option is to be completely off it. All while getting poorer as the rich get richer. And the traditional middle class is almost extinct. Another staple of the cyberpunk genre is the idea of being enveloped in this technological matrix of surveillance, convenience, and control. Think about it. It's hard not to feel this constant Orwellian presence watching our every digital move. Whether it's platforms harvesting our data, smartphones constantly listening in on us, or the normalization of facial recognition tech. We have traded so much privacy and individual autonomy for mere convenience and engagement. Sounds pretty cyberpunk so far, huh? And maybe most disturbing of all, even as we are the most advanced technological society in human history, there is this underbelly of alienation, disconnection, and mental disease that haunts us daily. Think about how lonely most of us feel, even as we are perpetually overconnected and plugged in to the matrix. How many of you feel like your online presence is prioritized over your real human one? Or that your social media usage is paradoxically making worse your in person friendships and community? We are living in an epidemic of isolation, unlike anything we have seen before. Well, hello, Cyberpunk Dystopia indeed, I guess. So, from mass surveillance, dehumanization for corporate profit, the extreme income inequality around us, and the deteriorating environment, worst of all, and the loneliness epidemic, can we actually say, welcome to the Cyberpunk Dystopia? Thanks for joining us on this latest thought experiment here at Culture Speak. Definitely a heavy topic to chew on, but I think it's important that we talk about these cultural themes and not just bury our heads while life potentially imitates dystopian art if we are not observing too much. I have a reading recommendation for you. Check out Neuromancer by William Gibson. It's considered one of the best works out there of the cyberpunk genre. That's it for now. Thank you for listening. See you next time.
A rich man's world. I have turned the soul of this beautiful land, but the